Hello, Andrew Kane from calmerpatients.co.uk. I want to show you a very particular way both anxious patients and dentists and their teams get stuck in their thinking around anxiety, and a very simple way you can start loosening it up. It all comes from the way we label and process our experiences. Our lived experience is an ongoing stream of feelings, thoughts and sensations, but to communicate it and to think about it, we need to package all that up into words and concepts. And when we do that, everything that is close enough to a concept we already have tends to get lumped in together, and that can cause the problem. Let me back up a little and give you a couple of examples, and then I'll explain what you can do in your dental practice. You or I would call both these colours blue. Russian speakers, though, would tend to see them as two different colours, siniy and goluboy, which if pressed we might call something like dark blue and sky blue. After childhood, Japanese speakers who haven't been exposed to much English have a kind of slot in their brain for the Japanese sound r that is somewhere halfway between our sounds r and l. As a result, for them, both our R and L, our R and our L, tend to funnel into the same mental slot, which is why it's really hard for them to hear a difference that to us is completely clear. I really like the paintings of Auguste Macher because he plays visually with that pigeonholing experience. Is this a group of well-dressed people or an abstract collection of colours on a canvas? He positions it somewhere halfway between the two, so your brain can't easily slot it into one category or the other. We label and categorise experiences as good or bad, problems or not problems, usually based on whether they feel nice or not. And we're most particularly sensitive to labels around things that we consider problems. So, for example, if you've had difficulty sleeping, that experience gradually changes. It goes from, oh, I've woken up, to, oh, I've woken up again, to, I've got a sleeping problem, to, my sleeping problem is driving me nuts. What was a passing experience has become a thing, something that can sometimes go even further and become an identity, like when someone starts saying to themselves, like, I'm an insomniac. And even when someone in that position begins to sleep better again, there's often another block that's still there. When they wake up, the thought in their head is something like, oh no, it's back again. They feel like they're back to square one. You can probably recognize that back to square one feeling around something you've struggled with in the past. It's become a thing. And for the person who's had the trouble, it's a thing that's theirs, a thing that they have. People who sleep well wake up sometimes too, just like other people who don't consider themselves anxious patients sometimes feel anxious when they visit the dentist. They just don't label it and own it. They're still at the, oh, I've woken up, or oh, I feel a bit anxious stage. But anxious dental patients have this problem. I'm an anxious patient, I have dental anxiety. They're very static, fixed labels. They're a useful shorthand, but they can sometimes blind a patient and you to real progress that they might make, which can get in the way. You can help your anxious dental patients by enabling them to loosen up their black and white thinking around their experience. I show you a great way to do that early on in the Calmer Patients e-course, so I'll cut to that now so you can have a taste. Something that you very much take in your stride already takes off that top layer for them. And then third thing you're going to do is to ask the patient to grade their anxiety, to put it on a scale from 0 to 10. This is going to achieve a few things for you. You're going to say, okay, so you're anxious, don't worry. Many people often feel anxious about coming to the dentist. Where would you say your anxiety is on a scale from 0 to 10? If 0 was totally indifferent and 10 was as terrified as you could possibly be, where would you say you are right now? And the patient can give you a number. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what number the patient gives you. Sometimes patients will say things like, oh, 15, like off the scale, right? Because they're trying to communicate that it's really strong. It doesn't matter what number they give you, because you're already achieving things just through the question. First of all, you're putting the patient into their observing self. Do you remember we talked about diagnosing in this sense and classifying? They're thinking, I'm an anxious patient. What they're probably also assuming is that other people who aren't anxious patients experience no anxiety at all. So they're thinking everybody else is zero, no anxiety, and I'm an anxious patient. It's either black or white. By putting them on a scale, you're already showing them that, and they're showing themselves that there are gradations here. And everybody maybe experiences like a 1 or a 2 of anxiety if they're going to the dentist, and there may be a 7, an 8, a 9 or a 10. They're somewhere on that scale. And where there's a scale, it's easier for them to perceive the possibility of change. It's not going from I'm terrified to the only other option is I'm totally calm. It's terrified to a little bit less terrified, and a little bit less terrified, and a bit calmer, and a bit calmer, and a bit calmer. So by changing it to a scale, you've achieved that second thing. And the third thing you've achieved is... Later on in the course, I go on to explain other ways you can help your anxious patients feel more in control of their emotional experience. The 4 things you can do when you greet an anxious patient, relaxation techniques you can show them to help them get more control over their experience while they're with you, how you can begin using hypnosis, rapport and suggestion to help patients feel better when they're with you, and what you can do to keep a patient progressing even if you can't deal with them right there and then yourself. You can check it out at calmerpatients.co.uk. I've put a link to it below along with links to other materials I've been talking about. I've worked with hundreds of dentists and teams on this in live trainings, so I have a no fuss refund system, so you can look through, decide if it's right for you, and if it's not, you can just email me within 60 days and I'll refund your money, so there's no risk to you to try it out. Check it out, and I'll see you soon.